know. I figure I'm probably gonna catch up on this comic and then go to bed.
Yeah.
Can't stay up until 3 a.m. I'm trying to go to sleep earlier again.
Wait, where can I... Heck, I'm just gonna have to, like... use my phone to see chat and hide this back here. I think that's going to first. I guess Sally's still a little nervous because she's right here.
I mean, it's much better today than it was yesterday.
That's good.
I think she's also relieved that she's back.
Maybe it's because I gave her the weed treats.
Probably a combination of.
And also just like, oh boy, I get to cuddle up to one of the humans without the other tiny gremlin dog screaming at me. I'm assuming Ahab got jealous.
I'm not sure where he was hanging out when that was going on. He might have been trying to mooch up your dad.
Probably.
Because,
little jerk.
To forget that I exist when he is begging for food.
Yeah.
There were a couple of times I went outside and did some stuff, and Ahab wasn't running on my heels. And I just glanced inside, and he'd be on the couch.
One paw up, eyes shiny.
Like, oh, I see. I see Squidward.
Oh, I see. I see how it is. Video? Oh, like the... Can you link it? It's showing up for me. What's wrong?
I forgot about the hot dog in the
Oh no!
I used to put the straw through the hot dog.
No. Ew!
What? What are you making?
Gross. Nasty. Let me... Go and I'm gonna turn these up.
Very good. From what started as using a primal emotion to convey a message has become a complete exploitation fest. That's why when I type in scariest game onto Google, the first result is Roblox.
Oh, okay. Well, of course you can link it.
Will usually always work because humans have two innate fears we're born with. The fear of falling and loud sounds.
I gotta stop my fan from blowing right into my microwave.
Doesn't mean it's a good horror.
I still have to say microwave. I'm not good at make words today. What am I saying?
What kind of endings you could have got, or characters' motivations.
7 minutes is all I can spare to play with you.
But a great horror game will send you into a depressive, vegetative state, and I can't think of a game that's done that more recently than Iron Lung.
I haven't even heard of Iron Lung.
Now, I know it's hard to avoid the elephant in the room. Powerpack made a great video explaining the game and all of its mechanics, and from the views, you've probably all seen that by now. This video
I have not.
A retread. I'll have to explain mechanics to give some context, but I wanted to try and focus more on what you don't see, the universe of Iron Lung, or what little left there is of it. Because Iron Lung is a tiny game, it's only 200 megabytes, with the additional note from the developer saying, you can run this. Also, I captured all this footage from my second channel, Pyrocynical Live, where I live stream pretty much daily now. Come and join, it's a fun time. I'm also on Twitter as well, if you want to follow me on that complete cesspit.
Wow, I hate that banner.
Decades ago, every known star and habitable planet vanished, leaving only those who were on space stations or starships. This event became known as the Quiet Rapture. With supplies dwindling and infrastructure crumbling, survivors over the subsequent years have been frantically searching for any trace of natural resources in a universe of barren moons, only lit by the ghost light of vanished stars. One such moon holds a strange anomaly. An ocean of blood. This isn't the first blood
Game
ocean
sounds
found
cool as
since
hell
the
so
vanishing,
far.
but scans show a collection of potentially useful anomalous locations in the trench, now flooded with blood. You are a convict, tasked with exploring this anomaly, in a makeshift submarine nicknamed the Iron Lung. It was not designed for this depth. It was cobbled together from rusty space station parts. You will be welded inside, and the forward window will be closed. There was no time for training. If successful, you earn your freedom. So much is told here, but so little is actually explained. We know that humanity has become spacefaring and reached across the stars by the hint of multiple habitable worlds. So this has to be somewhere in the future, but that's all gone now. This quiet rapture has seemingly claimed the lives of everyone except off-worlders on their starships. Games love to depict future humanity being annihilated by aliens or alien infections.
I gotta do it, man.
But this is a vanishing on a monolithic scale. Even the planets are gone. It's easy to explain
Jesus.
aliens protecting their holy land or a parasite trying to survive, but not knowing how or why everyone vanished
Get the
is
food down.
so much more terrifying. There's a quote from my
Yeah.
last game review that has stuck with me, and I feel it's perfectly fitting now.
This is the type of horror I don't see explored often enough.
They are all gone now.
Like,
It will never be the same again.
just
If
like
anything, it
the
sounds like all the vanished humans had it easy, hence why it's called the Quiet Rapture.
colony of people
Rapturing
disappears
implies
without a
that
choice and we
technology
don't know
calculates
why, but
because
I don't
there's
always
nothing
like
left
when they
for the
try to
remaining
examine
humans,
the
so
why
they
and make
fight
a
amongst
story for it.
themselves on starships that can't produce enough renewable resources. I guess there's no wind farms in space. You never see these last bastions of humanity in-game, but if you look at the state of the Iron Lung you're put inside, combined with the background of the introduction text. Also, on top of that, the fact this game was made by David Szymanski, the guy who made Dusk.
Hey, Dusk looks
Has
pretty cool
a
too.
similar grungy aesthetic. You know that these aren't the clean, pristine utopias many sci-fi films predict them to be. If anything, they make the ships in Dead Space look like a holiday resort.
Christ.
Space is already a terrifying concept. That vast expanse of near
Oh, we love
nothingness. I remember
space
as a kid
horror
playing
here.
Space combat simulators, and the distant skyboxes always made me feel uneasy, especially after turning off the usual bombastic, cheery music. You realize that you're just floating in space all alone. There's something about those late 90s dated visuals that can sometimes be beautiful, but also horrifying. And Iron Lung, funnily enough, has the exact same PS1 era of graphics. Isolation is usually in tandem with horror games, but sometimes there are outliers. I found myself recently playing The Long Dark, a game where a geomagnetic storm from the sun has killed all electricity.
Yeah, The
across
Long
the
Dark
planet,
does look really
dubbed
cool.
The Quiet Apocalypse. These are real-life events that can happen and have happened, although much less severe in our world. That game recently got a
Oh yeah,
story mode
cosmic
update where
horror
you can
stuff
meet
is
other
always really
survivors,
cool.
which breaks the cycle of pointlessly trying to survive day to day and actually gives you an
That
end
one
goal.
post.
Meeting these people, you can tell the isolation.
That one post that blew my mind where it was like, I was trying to explain what cosmic horror is to my mom, and she was like, oh, so like Horton Hears a Who? Yes!
Just like yourself.
Like, oh my
has
God,
slowly
you're
been killing
right.
them. Repeating messages that are said in games you wouldn't even consider a horror game.
Milton's the last of the old mountain towns. Now, it's almost impossible to get to. Or get out of. Only people left here are either too poor or too proud to leave.
You see that man? You won't see any more very soon. It's probably the last one anyway. Full of rich people. Only money and connections can get you out of it.
As people, we do enjoy our own personal space, not leaving our gamer dungeons or Discord servers. But to be truly alone is something few people have experienced because it can be corrosive for someone's mental health. As soon as you begin the game, you're already inside the Iron Lung, descending into the ocean of blood on one of these barren moons.
Cruising depth in roughly 40 seconds. Stand by. I'm seeing some voltage irregularities in the instruments, so keep an eye out for sparks or flames or anything like
That's a
that.
cute character feature, I said. I'm gonna draw that, I said. It's hard to draw, I later said.
The hole's feeling it, but it's still holding strong. We're starting to lose radio signal. You'll be at cruise depth soon, so recording and be careful. You're on your own.
Once the radio cuts out, there is no other voice acting in the entire game. You're
Oh, dang.
entirely isolated. No random static of a funny Irish man telling you to kindly bring him back his sack of potatoes. Just nothing. Silence. Apart from the occasional creak and moan of the iron lung, you're completely alone.
Yeah.
783. It's contact with Station Omicron for a week now.
Sir, we've just sent Convict 23 into SM13.
Oh, don't feel sorry for us, Artist. We love Just Supper. It's our favorite thing.
There's no way this is going to do anything, and you know it won't.
That was our last convict, unless I didn't hear you offer to go and kill yourself.
I hate to agree, but what could we possibly get from this expedition? We couldn't even properly map out the trench. Look at all these grainy areas. If we have to seal the window, they'll probably crash the only usable subway.
I really need to just, like, do a bunch of, like, gun reference studies. I need to draw, like, a ton of weapons and vehicles.
What I think the captain is trying to say is how we need to explore all possible options, even if they don't seem to have the highest success rate.
We lost contact with our last neighboring ship a week ago. We're completely on our own now. Did you see anything out there? Please tell me if you do, and not the stars. They don't count because they'll be gone in a couple of weeks.
I see a moon, sir.
Any other notable observations?
It's craters, and the trenches have been filled in with blood.
And why do you think that is?
I'm not sure, sir.
Exactly! No one fucking knows. Out of all the things to be raptured, why did they leave us? And the moon's filled with blood. We're meant to explore them. There's something there for us. Because, believe me, there's nothing else here. And seeming that none of you nominated for your Voyage of the Century, I pulled out an inmate and told them they'd be free to go if they took some pictures from the floor.
What are you hoping they return with? We had to scrap half of the medical ward for pieces of SM13. Even if it comes back in good condition, it could take weeks for a second expedition to collect samples based on the photographs.
Well, they probably won't return back at all, but, you know, it's better to keep ourselves occupied with these expeditions instead of going into our quarters and shooting ourselves.
Yeah, I mean...
Like mentioned in the opening, you've had to have the window sealed because the iron lung wasn't built for this kind of depth. So instead, you have to consult the navigation table at the front of the submarine. You're also given a paper map that you can use to cross-reference where you are in the trenches. You can never just whip open your map to find out exactly where you are either, like most games. So you'll quickly be darting in between the map and the navigation table. Or you can be a true chap like me and perfectly align yourself so you can see both the map and the coordinates on an X and Y axis, which for normal people is up, down, left and right. Thankfully, once you're dropped into the trench, depth or the Z axis is never used because this would go from a horror game to a spin-off of the Impossible game. You can also see your bearing. It's an arrow that tells you what your direction is, but it also has a built-in proximity sensor that'll alert you when you're close to a wall of the trench.
I'm not gonna worry about perspective right now. It's just an arc fight attack and I don't care.
It's an instant death and game over.
Well, dang.
It was actually really finicky for me to grasp this at first, but once you learn how pathetically slow your sub moves, or more how vast the trenches of the moon are, you'll realize there's a huge margin for error. The entire point of being here is to take pictures of points of interest already marked on your map from a previous scan of the trench. I assume from the safety of the spaceship that sent you down here. The back end of the submarine has a single button you can press that will take an image of what's directly in front of the sub.
Gun looks like, so we kind of gotta improvise.
Best gameplay mechanic. Every time you reach a point of interest, you'll have to physically leave the well-lit safety of your navigation desk, go to the near pitch black part of the sub, and hit a button on the wall while this clunky, dated submarine slowly loads up an image like it's the first computer with an internet connection. The 2 to 3 second delay before the image pops up is just amazing. It's the perfect amount of time to build up dread without it being drawn out. And these are a list of PNGs that appear on the screen when you hit a specific point. The trench you travel is real. The dev could have easily had images not load if they weren't the right ones. But because the entire space is 3D modeled, you can take pictures of pretty much anything down here, even if it's the quality of a Nokia brick phone. Like mentioned earlier, with your front window being shut, you have no visuals to work off except binary numbers on a table. And this accentuates your hearing because it's your only real unhindered sense. You can hear the sub pushing through at full speed, creaks and groans of the iron lung itself, and sometimes you can hear something
But guns like this sometimes they have like
game
the
has
heat
a lot
sink
of
around the
downtime
barrel or
between
something,
traveling
or is
to
that
each
usually
point of
back?
interest. And sometimes you get so
Sometimes they have it
fixated
at the
on
end,
getting
right?
to the next point of interest, you get jump scared by something not even meant to scare you. That was a blood drop. Oh God, that scared me. I mean, losing oxygen is pretty terrifying, but to be fair, losing it is entirely scripted at certain points, so you don't really have to worry about that. At the back of the iron lung, you can find a note in the corner next to the image screen. It's hard to see, but you can pick it up to read the following. This is not an expedition. It's an execution. When they put you in here, they don't want you to return. And even if you do, and even if they keep their promises, what freedom waits for you? A few dying ships in a sea of dead stars? If there is still hope, it lies beyond the veil. Hope in this void is as illusionary as the starlight. I will choose to breathe my last here, at the bottom of the ocean, unseen, unheard, and uncontrolled. They will get their execution. I will get my freedom. This letter isn't written in fear of the unknown or concern for their safety. They have made complete peace with the fact that they will die down here, but at least they'll be able to do it on their own terms. It makes you think of the person you were before being sent down here and why you're even a convict in the first place. Well, you know, I imagine what kind of person would do something like this, but there must be more reasoning behind it.
Fucking cultists.
Hey, what's he in for?
Caught him in the vents, preaching him out there being no hope left. Our reality is dead. There's only life beyond. Bunch of other crap.
I don't know if you've noticed, but the population's full of suicidal maniacs. Do not put people on watch just because they said something sad, okay?
They're a danger to themselves. Plus, I've seen people like this before. They incite riots, want nothing but chaos. They say a sinking ship and want to take everyone else with them.
Well, maybe they got a point.
But first, you called? Said you needed something? Ever felt tired? Bored of living the same day over and over? Sometimes, I guess.
These little skits are pretty interesting.
Water every day to stay hydrated, but it gets boring, and Mummy tells me that soda is bad for me. Yeah, soda is pretty bad for you. Not even your beloved sugar-free drinks are safe. Because even though you'll feel good at the time and there's no calories or sugar, you'll suffer a huge crash afterwards, making you feel tired and miserable. But what could I possibly have instead? Take this, my child. It's called Gamer Supps. A 0-calorie energy formula that's both keto and diet.
Oh man, I got like a discount for one of those one time because they were doing a promotion, and I was like, you know what? I wanna try them just to try them, but they had freaking sucralose in them.
I feel incredible. The unique formula of caffeine, vitamins, minerals.
There's these things called Gamer Supps, and they're like these supplement shot things that also have like caffeine in them. I was like, I like supplement stuff, and I'll try those since I got like a, like you can get some free with shipping or whatever. So I was like, okay, I'll try the promotion. They had like sucralose in them or aspartame or something, and I hated the taste, so I just like gave them to Vicky.
If the guy you played as an Iron Lung actually took Gamer Supps, they wouldn't even be there in the first place. Instead, sat on a throne made of Gamer Supps shaker cups, laughing at all the muggles down below. And if you still don't believe me, here is one happy customer.
I love Gamer Supps, buy Gamer Supps, buy Gamer Supps, buy Gamer Supps, buy Gamer.
What a seamless transition. I really want to consume this product now. You can, my child. And for a limited time offer using my code, orders are completely free. The first 10,000 people to order samples through the link in the description have no charges. You don't.
Yeah, I think it was something like that, where it's like a YouTuber got a promotion, and they were like, hey, you can get a free thing if you use my promotion code, and I was like, okay.
Code PYRO as the referral code. Oh no, I just tried to enter the code, and all the Zoomers already took all the free samples. Never fear. Because after the first free 10,000 samples are gone, the code will still work for 10% off anything in the store. I do want to say as well, memes aside, I couldn't make videos like
Damn
this.
sucralose ruining everything good.
Using the code directly helps the channel and is able for me to make videos like this more frequently. I use Gamer Supps myself, and they said that if enough of you use the code, then maybe it might get my own flavor. Maybe I might get my own shaker cup. I don't know. You gotta use the code, bro. I don't know. It's unclear whether this moon you're on was brought in during the Quiet Rapture, or was an already existing moon that during the Rapture was filled with blood. But regardless, it's not a moon we've seen before. You know, apart from the obvious blood everywhere.
It is raining out there.
Some trace of life down here. You can even find what looks to be
Well
plant
then.
roots covering the ocean floor, and hear the occasional groan.
Glad it held off this long. I ended up helping out the bread lady today, and it started like sprinkling while we were out there finishing up the bread, and I was like, "Don't you dare!"
It's like a pun. It's not, because I said the same word twice.
Oh my god.
The first point of interest shows a
Gamberg Guacamole 9000. That's an excellent name, and I'm glad he got his own flavor and called it Gamberg Guacamole 9000.
Not limited by the iron lung.
And if they didn't use fucking sucralose, it would be greater, but still.
Not quite bones, but definitely too different to the surroundings to be accidental. Nearby is the prisoner's next point of interest. These pillars are more slender and are called whale bones in the game's files.
Whale bones.
Points of interest are essentially tutorial markers.
Don't like
Very
that.
Easy points to get to with a big margin of error.
But this is EU. This is EU.
The third point is purposely placed in a more narrow, diagonal section of the trench, so you'll have to use the full maneuverability of the iron lung to get there. As you get close to the marker, you can hear what sounds like water moving or being pushed through something. It's a rhythm, almost matching a heartbeat with this slow, methodical beating sound.
How does it go?
Taking the picture, you can only see what I describe as pipes, called artifacts in the game's files. They're completely static when viewed outside of the map. The next artifact is where the trench opens up into the largest part of the game.
It's got the...
And I noticed how much dread was building up because once you perfectly aligned the sub with the coordinates, it was essentially
This is
just pressing
also
one
awkward.
key to move forward, hoping nothing interfered with your pixel-perfect alignment.
Okay, Florence!
For context, I'm drawing like a himbo cupid, and he uses like a sniper rifle instead of a bow, so that's interesting. Trying to figure out how to draw the rest of the rifle.
To purposely bait your brain into getting prepared for a scare. It's cheap and works on manipulating the lizard part of your brain that thinks every confrontation can only be resolved with fighting or fleeing. But in Iron Lung, you have no idea when something is going to happen because the entire game from the very beginning has been almost silent. Not in a calming way either. A silence that's, if anything, depriving until that silence is interrupted. You can hear something pass by your sub, sounding almost like a roar. The developer knew you tried to take a picture, your only way to view the outside world, to see what passed you by, only to be greeted with complete and purposeful emptiness. You have this horrible feeling of being followed, and to confirm your suspicions, taking your next image at the desired location, you see this. Quickly taking another picture, you hear a loud groaning, and then it's gone. Whatever that was in the corner of the tiny submersible's camera is nowhere to be seen. Many games have a character that follows you at scripted points, just out of reach, but in Iron Lung, I have never felt more terrified. The G-Man, Mr. X, SCPs, even Slenderman.
This would have like a big stock going back, right? So you could brace it against your shoulder.
If not incredibly contorted. But this, you can't even describe what it is apart from a big mouth. I just thought the Netflix show.
That's a big mouth.
It puts a horrible emphasis on dread because you now have actual confirmation you're not alone. And after this, I remember feeling even more uncomfortable, being scared by things the game didn't intend to frighten me with. It's perfect that this scare happens in the biggest part of the map as well, because instead of having freedom to move around compared to tight trenches, in reality, it's just more ways for whatever's out there to attack you. I'd specifically remember seeing pings come up on my radar and just waiting
I love it when the horror of like open spaces is done well. Like, yeah, being in the dark in a cramped hallway, sure, okay, being in the dark in, like, a big field or something? Way scarier.
Skull from an enemy from another game made by David Szymanski. This one called Pony Factory, although this is probably a coincidence as opposed to like some big lore theory. The next point of interest is the weirdest by far, what appears to be a huge wall but with holes in it, almost like windows. It's incredibly hard to make out what it is, but going into a level editor, we can definitely see it's a structure as opposed to more of the trench wall, literally called building in the game's files. Leaving this point of interest to backtrack to the open trench, the ship gets knocked, changing its coordinates by hundreds of meters. Checking the map, we were pushed back into the trench, but by what? It couldn't have been a malfunction of the Iron Lung, and there was nothing picked up on the scanner that could have throttled the ship, because believe me, the game lets you know when something is nearby. Oh fuck. Oh fuck.
Whoa.
That defo's not a wall. The next point of interest is more bones, referred to as spine in the game's files.
Right.
It really makes you think what kind of creatures are
Like, I can't stand close areas or areas that are too big. I can stand regular rooms.
And life. After collecting this data, you'll look at your map to realize
And slightly crowded open areas, and that's it.
Is impossible. Whoever scanned the trench did a pretty bad job because it appears that there's no way forward. Fire the cartographer. Fire him. Maybe I'm the cartographer. Maybe I'm the map maker. Like, made such a dog shit map, he just gets thrown in jail. But by using deduction, you can see that one of the points is obscured on the map, and following that grainy trail, you can deduce that you need to travel through this unmarked section. Traveling through this unmarked section of the map, the trench is supported with brick walls and these pillars, the same ones outside the building. Moving through here is fairly linear, and there's no outside spooks. But it's a great reminder of how much the Iron Lung is in disrepair, with pipes bursting, slowly depressurizing the cabin, to fires breaking out near the camera, where you'll have to use a traditional fire extinguisher. It's weird to think that for the first time in decades, you're the first human to start a fire not from the confines of a space station. Something intrinsically related to all media because, you know, it was one of the first discoveries we made. Something that made humans the apex predators. And now you have to extinguish it. Something Dark Souls.
Oh, Erd Tree. You shall burn.
Alternatively, you could just let it burn out of control, eat up all the oxygen supply, and then explode the entire sub.
Man, that also sounds like a plan.
The next marker is an incredibly tight section of the trench, probably the hardest to navigate in the entire game. As you approach it, your scanner constantly going off from how narrow the walls are, until that gets interrupted from what sounds like more groaning. But this isn't what's been following you. This sound is different. Moving closer, your vision begins to distort, or is it the entire submarine bending and twisting? That audio you hear might actually be the Iron Lung itself exposed to whatever this entity is. You realize it's the point of interest you've been told to photograph. Taking multiple pictures, you can tell it's actually moving, almost looking like a star, called the Void in the game's files. Trying to go inside it, nothing happens. Trying to navigate the way you came in, yet again you're jumped forward over 100 meters to just before we entered this part of the trench. It's helpful, but you can only wonder why it's happening. The second last point of interest is more whale bones. The same as the ones we've pictured before, but these ones are arranged differently. Traveling to the last point of interest is where we really get the attention of whatever's been following us down here. Whatever it is sees you as an intruder, or more probably, prey. With your ship falling apart, oxygen levels on reserve, the ship filling up with blood from the outside, and worst of all, the energy-saving light bulb on the fritz. You push towards the final objective. Navigating more narrow trenches, you reach it. Perfectly align your ship to take the picture when the Leviathan stalking you finally makes its way inside.
Oh no. Oh my god, is it really cut off there?
More questions than answers. Satellite images shown pieces of the
SM-13
scattered all over the bottom of the trench, as though it had been torn apart by some huge beast. The wreckage cannot be reached at this time. No photographs have been recovered. The stars shine pale as bones. The moon is a lifeless corpse. Its ocean a gaping wound. The universe, what's left of it, is dying. But somewhere in the void, there must be hope. that's it. You're just booted back to the main menu. You can continue the game, but all
That's
it does
awesome.
is put you right before the last marker, so you can relive being eaten by a fish again. There has to be more though, right? Like that can't be everything. Well, doing a bit of digging, you can actually visit that last point of interest that kills you. The way the game's scripted, your sub degrades and the monster attacks are more frequent the more progress you make via taking pictures. So if you totally ignore the first points of interest and go straight to the last one, you see this. It's another wall or building in the game's files, completely identical to the one we found before. Nothing really of interest. But directly below that, in another chasm in an unmarked location, we can find a completely different construct called Humming Monolith in the game's files. And this is one of the few artifacts that produces its own noise.
Ooh. I love it when a mysterious structure is making a strange noise.
That's been stalking you. It's never really an actual entity, more just a modeled face that stretches off because you were never meant to see its full body. The eye that appears on the camera is actually a clever trick of having a literal JPEG following you until you take a picture of it. Best of all, you never actually move the Iron Lung at all in game. You're essentially in a completely static sub outside of the map, but you're controlling an invisible camera that moves around in the trench. Also, the fish monster is called Frog in the game files, so take of that what you will. Now again, even though we have all this behind the scenes stuff, it's really not a lot to work with. So personally, I believe currently there's no true answer for Iron Lung. I don't even think the developer knows. He just created something that was taking up space in his head and it blew up overnight. But going from what I experienced, and you'll have to put your tinfoil hat on for this one, I believe the Rapture was probably some kind of ritual that went right or wrong. The developer David has always had a huge interest with the supernatural and the occult in many of his projects. What he's most known for, Dusk, is full of spooky cult members and monsters that can't be explained. I think someone or something did a ritual and it worked, removing most life from the universe. There could be a possibility that humans in spaceships survived because the way the ritual worked, it didn't include anything outside of planets. Because when it was written at the time, the boys probably said, well, nothing is bigger than a planet, right? And
sometimes all you need is a JPEG of a fish following a character. And that's some good horror.
Blood moons are what came from the other dimension. Life wasn't eliminated, it was swapped over. The game refers to this veil and other spaces at least twice. Once in the convict's letter, saying the only way forward is to go beyond their own reality. And the Exodus text mentioning in the void, there must be hope. The Iron Lung jumping at random intervals and the increasingly strange artifacts shows, at least to me, that this is something that shouldn't be in our own reality and is twisting it just to stay constant. The blood moons, or at least this one, have life and structures inside of them, something the rest of the universe doesn't. There's at least some basic ecosystem down here, and by the look of the structures, some remnant of society or an intelligent species. I mean, blood itself is alive, containing living cells, which could hint at the moon itself possibly being an entity. The first artifacts you find could be pipes pumping blood around the moon. There's a YouTube horror series called Local 58, and the main premise around that is like a sentient moon that can be seen almost breathing. You could even say you're invading a body, and the Leviathan that kills you is protecting its host. Keep in mind,
to catch up with the Local 58 stuff.
Kill you. It was curious of you at first, sweeping by your sub, trying to look inside, but eventually becoming agitated the more you progressed. You're something it's probably never seen in its entire existence, what it can't understand. Also, the fish broke into your sub. It didn't just eat the whole thing in one go. So that means it's at least the same size as the Iron Lung. And the whale skulls dotted around the map are much larger, meaning that nutrition could be scarce in this trench. Or there's even bigger predators out there. There's even a theory going around that the monster that shoves its eye into the camera and the one that breaks into the sub are two completely different creatures, not the same one stalking you, as the one that breaks in has no pupils and makes a much more high-pitched sound. Going into the game's folders, the dev added a folder called Goodies. Here, you can get some cool backgrounds and early development shots of how Iron Lung looked before its completion. But if you opt into the beta for Iron Lung on Steam, you can unlock a new folder called Secret. Opening it reveals no really secret, which shows us two screenshots titled Chop and Chop 2, showing another game being worked on in a first-person perspective. The first screenshot looks like a test level.
Does this arm make sense in perspective? I kind of don't care. Arms don't look good in perspective anyway, so it's totally accurate, I'm gonna say.
And to make it even more confusing, there's a striker shotgun pickup, something that was made in the 80s. The second screenshot is the player holding the striker in what appears to be a more urban setting, but again, off in the distance is that same marble architecture. Personally, I don't think this has like anything to do with Iron Lung. It's probably just more David trying to
let me do my thing.
screenshots for his next project. David Szymanski made a post recently saying the entire
See if
idea
it works.
for Iron Lung came from a trip to the Loch Ness Museum in 2019.
Yeah, it
Something
worked.
about grainy photos about something that might not even exist intrigued him. He says he's considering adding more lore-related stuff, but he's not sure how to. But he does plan on revisiting the world at some point in the future, probably with a new game. I saw a fair amount of people giving negative reviews of the game, essentially saying they paid $6 for a jump scare that takes 50 minutes to even happen. Scoop poop! And also, these are the same people that tend to have their Steam bio as my battle station with a list of PC specs. I do understand why people would say that, but it's the equivalent of Googling the ending of a film you haven't seen and then complaining that you didn't like it. Plus, David usually does these sudden endings, like for example, Squirrel Stapler, a game where you hunt squirrels to revive your wife's corpse.
You know, this game did not bullshit around. The game was called Squirrel Stapler, and
yeah, I mean...
oh, sleepy time.
And that game ends with God arriving in the form of a giant squirrel that purposely spawns behind you to catch you off guard. I will
Oh,
admit,
Jesus.
Iron Lung has no replay value whatsoever, but that's not the point. It's meant to be a
Yeah.
linear experience immersing you in a world that you know nothing about. And it intrigued me so much that I made this stupid video.
Hell yeah, I
talking
love
about it. Now,
games
if
that
you're
are just
interested in
like...
Iron Lung, or you've played it and you're looking for more content, you could
It's an
try
experience. It's an interactive
like Iron Lung,
thing.
It was essentially made by one guy. It's a roguelike, which means it has a lot of replay value, and you're tasked with landing on a planet to collect data. Purposely, when you land on every planet, your camera becomes distorted and grainy, much like Iron Lung's sub-camera. There are loads of mechanics in this that would like need its own video. Like for example, when your battery dies, you need to switch to an auxiliary to recharge it, which is incredibly loud. The equivalent of being the quietest man ever in a Rust lobby. Like Iron Lung, you're managing an expedition entirely on your own, and it can feel incredibly isolating. I mean, if it's a bit too isolating, why not just pick up an alien stowaway? It'll work its way into the vents, break out of containment, and then give you loads of hugs and kisses. Ah, look at that little guy. He's so friendly. I'm gonna resell him on eBay. So that should really be where the video ends. But as soon as I was about to upload this, David updated the game again in the beta branch, putting Iron Lung into 2.0. And I did, of course, what any sane human would do and opted in instantly. I mean, I could have done a game theory and split this into 2 parts, but I'd never sell out like MatPat. Well, you know, not until the Tube Tumblr's contract comes in. He put out a change list of the game. Firstly, achievements for all the real gamers. But what piqued my interest is how a couple of these achievements were actually redacted. Also, more importantly, there's now a terminal added into the Iron Lung. It's fully functional and essentially works as an archive, allowing you to ask it questions and learn more about the universe. This is huge. If anything, the entire video beforehand, I've been coping with non-existent lore. But the fact that we now have an actual database you can access, that's amazing. And finally, in the list of changes, something new to find in the world. Asking the terminal what the Quiet Rapture is, it explains that without any warning, radio contact with planets was suddenly cut. And no one actually witnessed the vanishing firsthand, but space stations started to communicate, all telling each other that they've lost contact with all other planets. Anything with sentient life, flora and fauna, a habitable atmosphere, or any sort of natural resource was gone. This wasn't just human-based. Everything was gone. Only space stations left and uninhabitable moons and asteroids. There are theories how this could be a literal religious rapture, quantum anomaly, or something more cosmic and sinister. So really, there's not much more here than what we already know. Now, the computer itself has a startup screen saying COI Informational Terminal, but not before swearing at it and being told off. Watch out, guys. I'm going to get banned for 24 hours from the Iron Lung Discord server. The COI is the Consolidation of Iron, a brotherhood of 3 space stations and 2 spacecrafts.
Yeah,
Their entire philosophy
too.
is based around collectivism and democracy, with around 275 current residents. Not really a big population for such a large collection of ships. These stations were constructed from iron, hence the name. Their main opposition is Eden. Searching up Eden, we learn that it's the largest man-made structure currently known that wasn't wiped out during the Rapture. It was originally the main station for Mars and still holds Martian values like patriotism and independence, directly opposing the COI. Looking up Mars, we see that it was set up as a colony in 1992 or 0 EIC, even ending up having a larger population than Earth, which is telling as looking up Earth in the database fetches no results. Their population after the Quiet Rapture is 468, and they also house nearly double the COI, and also housing some of the only known trees left in existence in their interior garden. The COI considers Eden a threat after their attack on Filament Station. Typing in the station, it seems it was the 4th largest station in the COI until 362 EIC. Tensions between the COI and Eden got so bad that there was a 9-day war on the station, and Eden troops sabotaged the station's reactor, making it uninhabitable from all the radiation. Some Eden troops were taken prisoner and put through conviction
my pen died in the middle of that
realization,
line.
expecting to pay their debts and integrate
I
into
do some
COI
stretches.
some years later. I kept seeing EIC everywhere as a date, and looking it up, it stands for Epoch of Interplanetary Colonization. It's basically a calendar everyone started to use after people started living off Earth. I'm getting the feeling that these humans really do not want to associate with Earth at all. Mars was colonized in 1992, and that was the year everyone started using EIC as a calendar, shown as year 0. Apparently, the Martian calendar was also popular due to Mars's massive population, which was literally the same thing, but had the word Martian in it. But after the Quiet Rapture, the COI kept EIC time, while Eden kept their own version of it, the IMC. Looking at Mars's version of the calendar, we see that EIC is based around the rotation of the Earth, much like our own years now, while Mars's IMC was based around the rotation of Mars, meaning that Martian years were nearly double the length of Earth's. After reading this, I was interested on what conviction realization is. You know, the way the COI punish people. It's apparently a humane form of punishment where crimes are repaid by servicing yourself to the COI, like surveys, maintenance, or redacted. Now keep this in mind, the entire database is wrote by the COI, so chances are it's going to be incredibly biased. A lot of these entries explain the COI as the best thing ever, a literal utopia, and anything questionable has been likely redacted. I believe that the person we're playing as is from Eden, the remnants of this Martian colony. We were captured by the COI and forced into this sub to repay our debt and earn our freedom. That's why the original letter we wrote has so much spite and vitriol. We're someone with no allegiance to the COI. They're your captors, and they've sent you on a suicide mission. Looking up Blood Oceans, the reason you've been sent here in the first place, the COI don't know much more than the info dump at the start, apart from confirmation that there are at least multiple moons that have them. And they also tested these moons to find out that it's human blood. I'm not sure how it's kept in its liquid form, as blood usually coagulates outside of the body.
I gotta keep letting my pen charge.
Moons recorded on this database. Moon Z-8, which is one of the 4 known blood oceans. This moon was historically used for conviction realization until Moon AT-5 was discovered. Moon AT-5 is entirely redacted from the database, which makes me think that this is the moon we're on, and the reason is so top secret, it's been purged from public knowledge. The next thing I wanted to search up was the SM-13, the submarine we pilot, as we learnt its name from the closing text after finishing the game. SM-13 is one of 4 in-service submarines solely used for conviction realization in the Blood Oceans. It's designed for deep liquid photography and analysis. All rumors of the SM-13 and similar crafts being used for so-called mob justice by way of forced suffocation or otherwise have been proven false. Part of this article is also redacted. We know by this entry that these submarines are constructed solely for punishment, and any benefits we actually provide to the COI are minimal. Now, remember when I said that the dev added something new into the game world, not just the terminal? Well, if we play through Iron Lung again, take all the pictures, get all the oxygen alert jump scares, and travel to where the humming monolith was, that unmarked point of interest in the map, it's now been replaced with another submarine. We can barely make the wreckage out. No survivors, but the submarine has a decal on the side. SM-8, the same brand of submarine you're in right now, meaning you're not the first person to come down here. Entering SM-8 into the console, we're given a frantic entry, not something wrote by the COI. This is a message written specifically for you. Hopefully they don't redact this before updating the database. What most people don't understand is that not all subs are built equal. The SM-8 isn't a burner sub. It really is for exploring and surveying blood oceans. If they send you down in the Iron Lung, they don't give a fuck if you come back, or if the sub comes back, because it's a pile of garbage and you're a piece of shit. You come back with photos, great. Now sit there and suffocate quietly. Even better. But if they send the SM-8 down, one of the scientists is piloting and they all expect them to return. And now the SM-8 is in the blood ocean in pieces. No, not hit a rock pieces or sprung a leak pieces. It looks like something tore it up. And the weirdest thing is, nobody else seems surprised. We might have found the first planetary life since the Rapture, and they're acting like it's no big deal.
Yeah,
I know
damn.
we're next in line for realization in the Iron Lung, and usually that means you won't be seeing the stars again. But they don't have an SM-8 anymore. They have 3 burner subs and a lot of curiosity about AT5. And maybe that means you have a chance. We're not sure who sent us this message. Maybe someone at Eden on the inside, or just a bitter worker for the COI. But they spill pretty much everything. This confirms that you were meant to die. Even if you somehow got the images and escaped, they just leave you to suffocate while they celebrate. This also means we are on Moon AT5, the redacted entry on the database. The sub we found was their last actual working sub. And with only dummy subs left, they're essentially sending convicts on suicide runs, just hoping for some kind of result. And lastly, typing fish into the console, we get another redacted entry. They knew about life down here. They just don't want you to know about it until it's too late.
AI fish.
These entries give a lot more context to the world we're in. Humanity is fading, and the ones remaining are trying to do everything in their power to find some kind of reason, some kind of result. And it's funny that even though there's less than 1,000 known humans still alive, there's still some kind of conflict going on. It really does seem that after the end of the universe, humanity never really changes.
Sir, I've been told from navigation to request to sign off on another SM expedition. SM-14 is ready to be deployed to reattempt the expedition.
How much of the ship did you have to peel apart this time? Probably not even enough to lower it into the trench before it explodes.
Parts of the recycling units were broken down, and some of the displays from navigation were repurposed to help with coordination. They even said this time they can double the oxygen supply and reinforce the window enough to keep it open this time.
Any volunteers?
None so far. We're waiting for the first person to offend to get locked up, and we'll offer to drop all charges if they comply. Obviously, not many people want to volunteer if their violation is littering or loitering, though.
What do you think they found out there? I mean, we can't retrieve any data. They couldn't even properly scan the map. Just pieces of that sub scattered everywhere. Navigation says they saw teeth marks of the wreckage from orbit.
Well,
We're gonna have to publicly announce food rationing soon. There isn't enough power to generate enough protein blocks. Not like we can grow them fast enough anyway.
So, do I say that you signed off, sir?
Oh, yeah, sure, whatever. Just find someone and stick him in it.
Yes, sir.
It's down there somewhere. Just... what the fuck even are you?
I definitely have to play this Iron Lung game now. Oh yeah, I plan to. I watch the credits at like movie theaters. I watch the credits of things for fun. It's probably kind of weird, but I don't care. Huh. Hmm. Is it on Steam right now? Or... Me. Okay, so I'll go to this one and then check out the soundtrack later. I like it when games have soundtracks so I can get I like a lot of game soundtracks. Added to wish list for now, and if they have like another sale in the future, I may get some more. But also, where am I? About here, and I gotta go through. Heck, those, and there's some other ones I got up here. I'm excited for Guacamelee too. And then there's my entire Epic library and the Xbox games and yeah. Yeah, it's really sweet they gave a little Technoblade shout out. Oh, okay, hold on. I have to add this to my watch laters. Oh, say wait. No prob. I probably would have watched it anyway. I watched like all the Pyrocynical stuff. I don't know how I feel about the little skit thing, but it is pretty cute. This lady is fascinating. I don't know if you watch Ask a Mortician, but Caitlin Doughty is a fun time. Oh, cool, yeah. Go do whatever you gotta do. I'll be here chilling and doodling. We'll save this for later. I need to open over there. Over there. Eck. Still getting used to the new broadcasting software, but I really like it. I'm trying to aim my fan right at my laptop because it is struggling. Yeah, I'll just draw the shoe from that angle. Totally fine. Know how to draw sports shoes from that angle. It'll be fine. Yeah, shoes have to have hearts on the bottom of them. Figure out how to incorporate hearts into every aspect of this outfit. Have them there. Gonna mute that audio, put that back over there. What the fuck is this? Excuse me? Right click. Can't turn off suggestions. Heck, okay, I'll have to do that later. The hell is it suggesting things? I want that on my freaking taskbar. Why do I have that twice here? Oh, whoops, I did that too. Come on. Wow, what am I doing here? Come on. I'll just put the color and some hearts on the shoes. two tangents happening on this same little thing. Maybe we should move it out. Heck. Make that rounder. Man, those tangents really bother me. You heading off to the camper? Cool.
I got all caught up in the comics.
Yeah. Okay, it might help a little. Good night. Good night. I'll get them in a second. Gotta go turn the light off just a sec. Ugh. Oh, sorry about that. I moved that temporarily. Excuse me. Go on. Okay. Oh, whoops. Very pale. So turn this off. I'm gonna have to put a thing back here. This guy is like unearthly pale. No, wait. Make this guy slightly lighter. Slightly, just a little bit more pigment. Are they supposed to be freakishly pale? Oh. Seems like the kind of glasses that turn everything red. You can just barely see the definition of them, so. Although, nah, I'll fill in the eyes and just go over it with the red. Barely difference between the skin and the eyes, but. Not a lot of contrast in this lad. That darker root color. Does it have a color? Is it beige? It's a little like white gold lenses. I mean, not lenses, frames. I think I want screener overlay. No. Normal low opacity, I guess. pretty much the same as overlay, kind of. What happens if I do this then? Might have to make it a separate one. Hey, Saley, what are you doing? Saley, you nibbling? You crunching? Okay, that's good, baby. Don't be mean to that cat, though. Pistachio, stop that. Not hurry enough. Gotta. Ooh. Damn it. Go, God. God damn it. Pen died again. What have I been on? I've been on almost exactly 2 hours. Okay. I'm gonna sign off for now. Get ready for bed. Go to bed. Be asleep. That'll be great. Man. Well, okay. Yeah. So, good night for